Who was it? Yes, Schwarzenegger. Right? When he says I am back, means he is back to kill again. I am not going to do that. I am back means I am back to speak again. So I am going to speak on a topic which probably is not needed to be taught, right? It is on ethics, academic ethics, and by very nature we are supposed to be ethical. नहीं? ऐसा किसी का नहीं है कि वो unethical, he or she was born as an unethical person, so they have to be changed by this stuff. Ethical हो जाओ. So there was a chief minister in India who was chief minister for a length of time, for about 24 years continuously. So some journalist asked him, "Sir, how do you feel being the longest serving chief minister of 24 years and still not corrupt?" So he said that there is nothing great in not being corrupt. You know, everybody is supposed not to be corrupt, right? So we are supposed to be ethical. So that is what we are. So I am going to speak on something which is academic, called as academic ethics. And this academic ethics comes because we cannot be ethical all the time. There is sometimes you are pushed to a corner and you will take to some wrong means. In India, maybe our Indian penal code also says, for your own defense, you can counter attack. Self defense भी एक है ना हमारा में. So ऐसे if you are pushed to a corner, you tend to become unethical and try to get something which is not proper. But in academics, it is not taken lightly, because there are instances, if you have been unethical in academics, then the punishment may come even after you have retired from the service, and it has happened many times. Okay? So it is important that we all become ethical academically first. So it has been introduced by UGC in its orientation, and also in making up good researchers, that we should be talking to all of you on what constitutes academic ethics and what are the rules and regulations and how not to do it, and if you are doing unethical practices, what action can be taken. So I am not going to deal with what action can be taken and all, because that is a proprietary of each of the university or institution where you are studying. For example, in where I am now working, there is a committee which will decide on how much of the quantum of punishment that can be given to researchers. Remember, this researcher comes under students also. Even if you write a student assignment in your BSc or +2, you must have done. A lot of people I have seen in schools also, or my own children also, when they were studying in school, you give them carbon cycle. The assignments used to be like global carbon cycle. So what a 6th or 7th standard student will know about global carbon cycle? So we used to give it to a professional fellow. So he or she will do it and she will submit it. So that is unethical, right? If you don't do it, if you do on your own, you may not get marks, which I may not appreciate. But at the same time, if you do it, it will hurt your conscience. So both are there. So you have to struggle. So in academics, we struggle and say that no, I will do on my own, that I may get less marks or I may not get my promotion. So this is what I am going to speak on, academic ethics. Let us start with, I have only 10 slides, so we have a lot of time to discuss. So this is this slide. I have only taken the front pages of each other. If you look at the extreme left, 2 Japanese universities revoked PhDs, one for plagiarism and one for because of cell line contamination. So one of the criteria of ethics is plagiarism. This is a word I am going to introduce you, which you already know, but I am going to talk, so let me introduce. So plagiarism, that means you have taken the work of somebody else as yours, copied it or paraphrased it and reproduced it, and it was accepted. So both the researchers, they have revoked the PhD. Remember, this has happened after 15-20 years. These are midterm level researchers, and their PhDs were revoked, so they became ineligible. And not only that, they lose their job, but the image tarnishing that the individual will have because they will not get jobs elsewhere. Secondly, the institute's reputation also will be at stake. If somebody has been caught in plagiarism, let's say in a university like, I don't want to name some, but then we blame mostly to the university rather than the individual because we don't remember the name of the university. Most of the time we don't remember the name of the individual, but we blame it as उस university में तो plagiarism हुआ. Similarly, they may blame, अरे India में तो बहुत plagiarism होता है, right? This is the way people speak, and you won't like it, and you will be getting a very low perception also. So when NIRF rankings and all come, people will give a low perception that I have a bad perception about it. So second one, as you see, these are the number of records, total citations, average article citations. These are the countries. The second one, these are the countries where they have listed the countries according to the number of plagiarism or unethical practices that have been done. So USA obviously they produce more. Also there is a lot of unethical practice also. That's because US is a capitalist country and you have to buy you have to be there, that's all. Nobody is listening to your problems. I have this problem at home or I am not well, nobody listens. You have to just get the work done. So some of them take on ethical practices. Have you seen a movie called Theranos? Anybody? Theranos? No? Theranos is a very recent movie. You can see it on Netflix. It has been released now. I urge all of you, I insist that you watch Theranos. It's a movie about a drug. Okay? This lady, a small girl actually, she is about 20 years old, and she gets this idea from somewhere, and she uses some instruments which do not belong to them. They say that I will do a blood test or your whole blood test, whatever number of parameters that are there, within 2 minutes. If it takes, for others it takes about, let's say, 5 hours or something. She says, I'll do it in 2 minutes, and she was giving more parameters than others, right? So she said, I have invented this machine. Actually, she didn't do. It was taken from Siemens, the German company, and she modified it to a little bit and produced. So you should see Theranos, Theranos. This is the company's name. And she became a multi-billionaire at the age of 23, and by 28 she is in jail now. Okay, she is in jail in very hard and fast rules. So she has been caught. So this is a huge company which employed about 10,000 people across US and all of them. She lost her. Whatever reputation was at stake, she is gone. So the third one, if you see, scientific misconduct found in work from prominent cancer lab. And this is one where I purposely removed the name of the university because I can tell you it's not from India. Since it's not from India, it's from Ohio State University. He was almost recommended for a Nobel, and he was found to be doing this plagiarism. So it came in Nature, and so it was. Then research group was thrown out. Then this one, ex-German minister's PhD degree revoked after plagiarism scandal, right? So minister ka PhD, and I don't know how much of it will happen in our countries, but in Germany they revoked his PhD, but he may continue to be minister then. So politics everywhere is the same. So that can also go. If you are minister, powerful minister, president, prime minister, it doesn't matter. If you have done plagiarism, people will just throw some speck of dust on you, and you have to prove that you are not done it. People only will remember the first one, the charge that has gone. After that, when you go through the courts and all, and you prove yourself to be innocent, nobody listens. By the time everything is the damage that has been done. And followed by US University President resigns after plagiarism speech. In what we call it as vice chancellors or directors in our institutes, the head of institutes, there they call it as president, right? And the president had to. Hello. This university president resigned because he was caught in plagiarized speech. It was not even written, it was not even published. He just gave a speech which was plagiarized. Plagiarized means he has not taken word by word, but he quoted some sentences without really giving credit to whoever has said it. Right? So under court people tell no, under court as a so he had to resign. So in India, UGC has also done a lot of soul searching, and we are one of the good countries for plagiarism. So if you see here the rank, we are at number 8 or something. And if you see some institutes, they have gone too much ahead. It's better not to have research papers than have your name in the plagiarized list. So UGC came out with India is striking back against predatory journals. This is another thing which I said in the morning, that you can write a paper, give it to the SOP fellow who is in front of the university, and he will get it published. And there are SOPs sitting there. It is some of the journals like International Journal of Engineering, Science, Technology and Humanities. ऐसा होता है क्या कोई journal? नहीं है ना? Mostly journals are. Mostly journals are subject specific, very very subject specific. So here we find predatory journals which are publishing your papers because you have also encouraged them, because you want your papers to be published, you want to increase your number, and if you increase your number, so why you do it? Why we all try to do it? Is it a kind of character that we are born with? Do some of us have such DNA, or why do we do this kind of unethical practice? But actually, since I can see the front guys only, you know that why you do that? Publishing your work. Anybody else? Anything? Why we do unethical practice? Better. You can talk from your seat. Stand up. Why you do plagiarism? Because there is a deadline. For everything there is a deadline, no? So to meet the deadline you don't have data, so you have to fetch the data, you have to give it. It takes time. So if you are early in your research career and suppose you don't keep everything for the 11th hour, then you don't have to take recourse to any of this. You are always doing in proper time. But suppose you have to submit at the 11th hour and you are told at 10th hour you have started. Hello. Yeah. Thank you. So the reason for that is very simple, that I have to meet my deadlines. This is one of the reasons. Okay? For students it is deadlines. Tomorrow you will be working for a company. The company also gives you a deadline. The company head only will tell you that so and so, please you prepare you have to make a presentation in front of the board early morning, and he or she will inform you, the boss will inform you at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So you have to do something about it. You cannot go there and say I couldn't do because I was sleeping or I was doing something else or nothing. Nobody listens to that. So corporates में भी ये होता है. This is a major problem there as well. Any other reason that you can think of why I do plagiarism? It's easy, no? It's a form of shortcut. Very good. So it's so easy. I don't have to work. Already somebody has worked, and I take it and publish it. Somebody has published in a local journal, let's say, a vernacular language journal. So I think that not many people have read that because they do not know the language also. So I take it. If somebody has published a paper in a German language journal, then I can topo it and publish it in an English journal. So thinking that they will never catch. But nowadays, the softwares are so powerful that they can get into the system and read everything from whichever. And remember, those who are from mathematics, there are mathematics here, mathematics PhD students or postdocs are here. Mathematics है ना? So आपका सबसे बड़ा जो prize है, it's Fields Medal.
Yes.
Or
Abel's prize.
That by Abel medal, which is much later, but Fields Medal is restricted to below 40 years and considered to be the equivalent of Nobel. So there was a Croatian who published a paper. I don't exactly remember the type of the mathematical work that he did. I used to remember, but now I forgot this. So he published a paper in Croatian journal, and it got, in one way, it says it was not translated also. And the journal, in 7 days, the paper was cited by about 50,000 people. Okay, so even if you are publishing in a very vernacular local language in India, if your work is good, it will be seeing the lights in other places also. So that person got a Fields Medal. So the Fields Medal people, before you get a Nobel Prize, I wish some of you get Nobel Prize later on when we are leaving. Make us proud. And Nobel Prize, when they give you, they also take your consent. So when they went to this guy who was getting the Fields Medal in Croatia and asked him that we are giving you this Fields Medal, which comes with $5 million prize money. He was doing kheti, he was farming his land, and he says, I left science, I'm not in mathematics anymore, and I don't want the medal. That's the kind of sacrifices people have. He says that I have not worked on this for the medal. I worked because it was of my interest. So such cases are also there, but the point what I am trying to say is that even he published in a German journal or Croatian journal, it got translated immediately by others, and so many papers were cited. So don't think that it will not be caught. So this plagiarism is found in many of the biological labs. In biology labs, you work for years together. I have seen some people, they have never slept also. They are so ambitious, so good. But suddenly the power goes or something and the whole experiment is gone. So what they do is they take the reports of fudging the data. And in biology, those bar things come now, old bars and all. You are supposed to be writing everything and preserving it for the posterity. And one of the scientists in NIS, National Institute of Advancement of Science, one of the topmost scientists, she was caught, her student was caught. So she was a big professor at the Bhatnagar Prize and all. She had to lose. She did not lose it, we don't take such actions, but her image was tarnished. So in biology it happens frequently because of some other reasons that is beyond their academics. Some of the times it is like, as she said, we take recourse to shortcuts. That can be, one can always overcome that. But if suddenly something happens, your instrument goes and you have got a lot of engines from some other country and you are doing experiments and it fails, you have nothing else because your supervisor, mentor, they spent lakhs of rupees and you have been unsuccessful. So what you will do under that case, if you are an ethical person, what will you do? If you are unethical, you will fudge the data, right? It has gone well and all, you will write and submit it. But if you are an ethical person, what will you do? Will? If you are ethical, if you are unethical anyway, you will fudge the data and publish, or you tell your supervisor that okay, the experiment is successful. Okay, nobody will take your result as no result. Means it's very rarely, although in the morning I said that sometimes we say that I did a research which is stupid, but then there is a formulation and all, you have to tell that this work did not work out. But because of mechanical failures, if your work is a failure, what will you do? This is my question now. You will restart again, which will take 5 years. There is no funding. So what you will do is you will tell your supervisor that so and so has happened and let us discuss what else can be done. So there will be a way out to make your PhD, shortened. Some of whatever you have done till the last moment was unsuccessful, but till that time you are successful. So you can tell your supervisor, who is like your parents only. So they will take care and they will tell that, okay, let us find out a way. Not that they will tell you first the data and publish. They will tell you whatever you have done so far and where it became unsuccessful, till that time it was successful. That also can be given, a PhD can be given, because it is given by a board of committee. Right? So always be ethical. If something goes wrong, you must tell. If it goes right in your proper lab meetings, weekly meetings, you anyway talk. But if something goes wrong, don't hesitate to tell that this has gone wrong and how can I overcome this, instead of fudging. Because this fudging will not only tarnish you, your job will go later on, but your supervisor, your institute, everybody's name, including the countries, also will be at stake. So don't do that. This is what I want to say. So fortunately, a true academician researcher is always an ethical person. Most of us, what we are talking is always the aberrations that we take. In any system, We always make a rule thinking that if somebody breaks, what will happen to that? But we never think if most of them follow, is the rule okay or not? But we start from the negative, right? If somebody breaks it, what will happen? Am I clear what I am trying to say? If everybody is going on the left side, this is a rule. But some people will come on the other side also, right? Wrong side. So we make rule that why everybody should not go on the left side, because some of them are also breaking the rule. We start from there. But we can go from here that everybody is almost going on the left side. If 1 or 2 persons are not going, let us punish them. Why the 100% people will be affected by changing the rule altogether? Right? This is how it should be formulated. So most of us are ethical. There is nothing wrong with many of us. That is why the institute, the country, everything runs so smoothly because of this. But 1 or 2 is enough to spoil the whole growth. So why we do it is, first, it's because of the competition that is there. Several of us are competing for one position or one promotion position. So I have to be looking different, I have to be telling that I am doing different work, better work than others. Then I have to tell out, I have to say that something which is not generally doable, I say that I have done it and I have been successful. Then there is a time constraint because you have not been able to manage the time or the experiments take long time. Then you have formulated. Mostly biological, you don't foresee things. Many of the things you can see, but some of the things it's beyond your hands. So there it goes beyond the time. Then you will be feeling that, okay, let me fudge the data. So don't fall prey to this kind of things. This will come under strong academic unethical practice. Failure of research experiments, which we talk now, and career growth, recognitions, all of them, we are so vulnerable in this present world. We ourselves are not living our own life. When you look at the mirror, you cannot recognize yourself. You started as something and you ended up with something else. The amount of changes that we are bringing in our daily lives, we see that it has been changing. So in academic ethics, you see that when you join in your first year of your research and how you are today, you see that there has been some change that has come. Positive changes have come, but also that somewhere you might have compromised in your research, and you might have also seen that this work is not giving me satisfaction. When you are very enthusiastic, suddenly you lose interest. Also, as supervisors, we may not sometimes behave, the way it should have been dealt with vulnerable students, and several weaknesses and all are there. So we do fall prey to unethical practice. So this has to be identified and this will be discontinued. So how it will discontinue, I'll talk a little bit about it, but we can talk about it sometime later on also. Okay, plagiarism is paraphrasing sentences or not quoting somebody's work and taking somebody else's work as yours own. You own the work. You have seen many of our हिंदी मूवी का जो पुराना गाना है, they are all remade, no? नए singers आ रहे हैं, गाना गा रहे हैं, same song, but they are better with the present day music, which will give interest to the young generation. होता है ना, very popular होता भी है, right? सनम पुरी for example, there are a lot of people that are there. So जैसा कोक स्टूडियो में भी देख लीजिए, वो सब भी दिखाते हैं, अच्छा गाना है. So is it wrong? Is it not unethical? Because all of us are watching it and we are paying for it, and that fellow gets billions of rupees. Is it unethical or not? I am singing a song of Kishore Kumar, giving a new music, but the same song, lyricist was somebody else, only that I changed the music composer. So is it wrong or not? Everybody is listening to that, but why there is no action being taken? Why? क्या credit? Yeah, they buy copyright, and also the songs in India that were there, they were valid only for the next 20 years. They were not visionaries. So they said that 20 years तक ये कोई copyright है हमारा. उसके बाद there is no copyright. So people are free to take without even giving proper acknowledgement to them. In many places they do acknowledge also. So do you understand? So they were a little bit not visionaries in that sense, that they kept it only for 20 years. After 20 years, everybody is free. We have a lot of movies also. We have seen a lot of music directors copying. We call it as inspiration, they call it, right? We took the inspiration from a folk singer or from Western music. So that's a beautiful, convenient word, inspiration. I got inspired, so but the same tune, I also did it in Hindi. So this cannot be an excuse in academics, unfortunately. There they may escape. And Helen Keller of all people, Helen Keller, she is, the Braille ka invention ki, Huh? Am I correct? Helen Keller. And she was caught under plagiarism. She wrote a book on the frost fairies. Okay, so when she wrote the book, somebody found out that it was written by some Eric Brown earlier as Frost King. She wrote the book on frost fairies. So there are a lot of similarities. So Helen Keller lived during the early 1900s, I think, and her contribution to the world is unimaginably good. So when they asked her, did you copy, there was an inquiry, and did you plagiarize, she said, finally said that maybe because she was blind, she was being told stories by her grandma. And so it was in her mind, and when she wrote a story, the same lines came to her. So she was also in the plagiarism, right? So there are many cases in every field you will find big people have been also caught. And see the reputation. Now Helen Keller, everything is very bright, but one एक जो कलंक बोलते हैं ना वो हो गया कि plagiarize, plagiarism. Hey guys, are you okay or?
Yes, sir.
So data manipulation, with a data which I don't have, I am manipulated. That means, जैसा morning में बताया, XY, I did a plot of XY. I have only 4 or 5 points, but I made it into 50 points. Right? A graph is showing this kind of a trend, so other points I just plotted it and took the data from there. This is very wrong. So that many students do it, and it is very difficult sometimes to catch them, but they are caught one time or another because this plagiarism or unethical practice doesn't end there. You get encouraged time and again. Easy way में आ रहा है, easy way में आ रहा है, और भी कुछ कर लेता हूँ मैं. So one day वो पाप का गड्ढा जो है वो पूरा हो जाता है. However much कुंभ मेला में आप जाओ, it will not be wiped off. Okay. There are some monetary benefits in some universities. If you publish, you get monetary benefit. You get 50,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees for each paper that you publish, especially the private universities. And sometimes you are promoted in your position, whether you are a scientist or a researcher or an academician. You get promoted by the number of papers that you have. Unfortunately, we count the number of papers most of the time. That's why people try to increase the numbers by doing this kind of unethical practice. Like Einstein said, everything that can be counted is not counted. Okay, what counts is not counted really. What is counted doesn't count. I have many papers, but I have not made a single, impact on that science. So if you calculate, many papers are there, but what is your impact? Nothing. But I might have written only 2 or 3 papers, but it has a huge impact worldwide. So he rightly said that what counts is never counted in university systems or research systems when you get promotion. So the big leadership there comes, that how to identify these guys who are doing great work but not really producible in terms of papers, but still their impact is large. So that is there, monetary benefit and exploiting the vulnerability. So Government of India has been doing it. I mean, UGC is very much aware. I am bringing UGC in place of MO, Ministry of Education, because most of us in these universities are guided by UGC guidelines. So UGC has been working on it, and successfully sometimes, but not really greatly successful. UGC has put, to overcome the predatory journal publication, UGC had put a care list of journals, care. CRE care. Are you aware? They have listed some 60,000 journals under care. So among that, Nature and Science also are included. So suddenly we see that, this came in Nature editorial, that Nature and Science from India, 500 papers, 600 papers every month they used to send it to Nature and Science because they were under the care journal. And the Nature suddenly realized why India, so many papers are coming from India, and it was never coming, and third rate work. So then they realized that there is something called as UGC care, in which they have listed our journal also. So even those people who do not work in Nature and Science, like humanities and all, they also started sending to Nature and Science. So this is what we are beset with. What is a care journal has not been well defined. To overcome predatory journals, you got some other journals, 50, 60,000 journals, then who is going to check all that? It becomes a Houdini's task, it's really difficult. One has to be magician to find out what's a good journal and what's not. So we came down with Q1, Q2, Q3 journals, right? So that has impact. But sometimes, as I said, your work is more important. Where it is published may not be so important. You may have a lot of citation in a small journal that is coming out from your own club. Maybe the work that you have published in a students club journal may be having more impact and it has better research output compared to a huge journal only 2 people are studying reading. So UGC has come out with this to create awareness about responsible conduct of research. So the responsible conduct is follow the research protocols. If some analysis has to be done, find out what are the research protocols that are accepted. Not accepted ones you should not follow. If you are doing in chemistry research, let's say, you have to analyze some ketones or some acetones or उसका जो change जो है वो determine करना है. You have to follow some certain accepted, well-reviewed, peer-reviewed, published papers. You cannot write something which somebody has published in a book that is coming from some local area, right? So that is responsible conduct. That means you have to be responsibly conducting your research which is of good standard internationally, which is accepted. Not that you will do it for your local scale research. You have to do research which is accepted internationally. So you have to create awareness about research, thesis writing, dissertation writing, promotion of academic integrity and misconduct including plagiarism. So we have to sensitize the researchers, students and academic staff about this. First of all, we have to sensitize. Sometimes you may say that you are caught under plagiarism, you say, I did not know that there is something called plagiarism, right? If there is a committee of your professor sitting and they catch you, that they find out evidence that you have plagiarized a paper and published it. So there is a committee, your vice chancellor will make a committee of senior professors or whoever, and then you will be asked to present yourself. So they will ask you that, when they ask you tough questions, you say that, no, I was not aware. Is it an excuse? I was not aware about plagiarism. Why it is not an excuse? Many of us do not know what plagiarism is. Huh? Here ignorance is not bliss. If you are not aware, it's your headache. Right? Many times we are really ignorant. So it is a responsibility of the department or the institute to sensitize you about it. So every time and then, like now you are having this sensitization workshop, it will be sensitized. And what are the repercussions of that? And also punishment. Remember, none of it goes without just taking you out of the system. There are heavy penalties for this. You may not be taken to jail. Nobody has been so far jailed because of plagiarism. But Therana's case, that Holmes, that girl's name is Holmes, she is in jail because she cheated the people's money. People who invested in her company, they were all cheated. Like it was $1 billion company, several billion dollars, $200 billion company. So all her investors lost their money. So she was put in jail unless and until you go to that level, you will not be taken to jail. Don't be scared of it. So this scaring doesn't say that you go on slightly with plagiarism. But your reputation is much. If your reputation is harmed, everything, going to jail is better than getting your reputation harmed, right? It will hit your conscience very strongly. Okay, so this is what institute mechanism should be there through education and training to facilitate all this responsible conduct. Okay, and what it comes out is, the most of the times we say this unethical practice is nothing but plagiarism. There are many other unethical practices that it comes from the teachers. Sometimes the teachers do not behave, they are not inclusive, or they are very biased towards one particular gender or one particular reason or one particular group, or their nepotism. So all these are also unethical. So you learn from us. So we have to be the best person in the first place. If we are not, we cannot also start teaching you. So although most of the unethical is dealt with plagiarism, and remember, although I am a teacher and all my such a senior colleague is here and other teachers are also there, most of the time if you are caught, a student with plagiarism, if your group is caught, will escape. Okay? we'll escape, but you cannot escape. We'll say that the student did it and without my knowledge. She put my name in this paper. So this happens many times. The teacher is always, he or she can escape. So you have to be, the budding scientist that you are, you have to be careful about this, of not doing it. Okay, teachers are most of the time, they will also tell that I had so many other work. And, there are, sometimes you give a voluntary, in the morning I was telling honorary authorship. I give authorship to a person who is, suppose there is a Google alert, I put his name. My paper, acceptance of my paper becomes easier, right? If I put a big name. If I write my own, it may not be accepted because of me. But if my co-author is somebody who is really like a Nobel laureate, they will not say much, they will not review much, they will say it's a fantastic work. So people do honorary authorship and it is very common. So that is also an unethical practice that has to be followed. So what is accepted here is, this is a very interesting academic integrity, long time back, International Center of Academic Integrity. There is an international center of this, academic integrity and ethics. This is a subject that is taught in philosophy. I do not know if you have philosophy department here, ma'am. No, you don't have. So ethics comes under philosophy department mostly. And so this academic, International Center of Academic Integrity, that includes, they say that 6 fundamental values all of us should possess, that is all researchers should have, is honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility and courage. Okay? These are the 6. And these are the 6 that is naturally imbibed in us. That is how we are brought up. We are supposed to be, the best of all the characters that are there in a human being. All of us, by and large, we have 90% or more of it. But this slightly, if we differ in this, if we slight disbalance or imbalance we do in one of these, we get into the unethical practice. And that becomes a habit. Okay, the Oxford Dictionary, it defines plagiarism as wrongful appropriation or purloining. That means taking out, or purloin means क्या है? Google करके देखो. Purloin, wrongful appropriation or purloining. And publication is one form of the ideas or the expression of the ideas. Okay? पढ़ना तो मालूम होना चाहिए आपको. बताओ. Google. Yeah. So you should not do it. Okay? Either wrongful appropriation or purloining. Both are big no-no. Plagiarism. You should never do it. This is how it is defined. Okay? It can be, see here, literary, artistic, musical, mechanical, everywhere. And how does it matter if I plagiarize? Does it impact anybody? Why do I say that plagiarism is heinous crime in academics? It is not harming somebody, it is not killing somebody, no? Is it a criminal activity? If one of you asks that what is so wrong in plagiarism, I will have no answer to say. Is it going to make me any, as a human being, am I getting some disease because I plagiarized? Or is it giving disease to others? Or is it killing? फिर क्या problem क्या है? Didn't we have plagiarism earlier? Before we came into writing and text writing in the form of documentation, wasn't there any plagiarism? As I said earlier, people used to listen. If I am the guru, I will be telling my shishya in his ear and he used to pass it on to others. There are some good chefs, good hotels, they have a recipe, right? Which is passed on in the family member one after another, nobody will know. So if I am taking the recipe from them, am I making a harm to them? To the family? I am harming because they are, economically they will be, it is now I have taken it, I can, distribute it to many, I might do it as well myself. So their business is gone, what was their own, invention, it has now gone freely to others. Similarly, if you have identified, if you have found out a drug called Project, okay, or you find out paracetamol, or recently you found out what is the drugs for COVID-19, right? You did a lot of research, you found out, and suddenly others take your research and start manufacturing, it will be wrong. So you might be remembering, in COVID only 2 or 3 companies, one UK company, one Russian company, no, I'm forgetting the names. India में जो आया है, one of them was from the Russian, another is from the UK, right? Do you remember? दो था ना हमारा. Covishield, yeah. Sputnik is from Russia. The other one?
Covishield.
Yeah, correct. So that's a UK one. So they did a lot of research. When you and me were sleeping during COVID, feeling that COVID is a great thing, it has made a lot of life for many of us actually. I started enjoying life. So even, I'm told that tigers started coming out onto the streets. People are all inside and tigers were outside. So these two guys who invested billions of dollars, suppose I take their formula and start making, is it good? No, it is not good. So they would also not leave you. They will take you to any court that is possible. So this is why it is important, because it is now economically tagged. Earlier, it was not, knowledge dissemination through generations, through Gurukul system or whatever system we are following. All civilizations, they are following their own system of education in the past, but it was never called as plagiarism, right? Somebody was taken from another. It was taken as something that, okay, he is eager to learn, he is ambitious, like that we are passing it. Now the economic tag has been associated with it. You cannot just do it. So this has to be preserved. This is my formula, you pay. So that is called as, what somebody said now about music, copyright. When you take it from somebody, you have to pay in return something, right? So it makes a country rich or poor depending on the discoveries. Okay, it can be an idea, it can be a specific equation, product design, experimentation, culture and art, computer codes or programs, or improper paraphrasing. So all of these constitute what is plagiarism. So most of it says that we have our own. It is better that we have our own. Except paraphrasing, here everything else is ours only. नहीं? Paraphrasing में दूसरा किसी का लेके इधर इसको इधर कर दूंगा उधर कर दूंगा कुछ tense, I will change the past tense, future tense, or some of the grammatically I will change. But everything else is my own. That means what it focuses on is that innovate. All the time innovate. That is what NEP also would say. NEP talks about innovation largely. Now Department of Science and Technology will be known as Department of Science and Innovation, not technology anymore. I'm just telling you, it was the idea. So similarly, the National Education Policy says, which I used to say earlier also, E is equal to MC square. Any excellence that you will get is equal to multi-dimensional courses and creativity. MC square, right? Multidisciplinary courses you take and you be creative, then you achieve excellence. So any university's perfect formula for achieving excellence is just float as many electives as possible for students to take and also ask them to be creative or innovative. So this is encouraging. The plagiarism has now given rise to what is called as innovation and creativity. So each of us, when we innovate, we generate a lot of resource for the country. We have more unicorns, we have more private enterprises coming up. We don't depend on jobs, on government. We create jobs and give to others. So this is how the next generation of youth has to go towards, even though you may do PhD, postdoc, but don't restrict yourself to only teaching jobs. Teaching is one part and which only those who do not want to take any risk, they become teachers. Okay? Or all of us could have gone into some other company and after 30-40 years of our time we would have ended up with something maybe much better also. Right? So some of us come here for love of teaching, but many of them are also forced that they don't want to take any other career. They have left, lucrative jobs to come and make a career here which is stagnant. So many of you, please don't feel any depressed or something. Your job should be your ATM card, like your idea should be like an ATM card, and you should use that. And so innovation, plagiarism gives rise to non-plagiarism gives rise to innovations. That is what it says. Okay. So not to know is not a solution. Okay. If you say that I did not know, it is not a. So yeah, this is not accepted at all. Okay. So as per this notification again, all quoted words. So what you can do is, whatever you are giving, whatever you are writing or paraphrasing, you can give in the bracket the author's name. It is as simple as that. what is wrong in giving somebody the due credit that is meant for them? Lot of times we do not want to give, then it becomes ours, right? So if somebody has done the work, we should always write that, and in bracket we can always say that, okay, this is done by this person, this was told in this year. Then you are safe. So remember to give credit. So in your referencing, in your text that you write the paper or the thesis, always give reference of that. And all generic terms, laws, standard symbols and standard equation all should be given appropriate due diligence, and also should be done in a due diligence. So this plagiarism, we can always check when you write a project report or for funding, or you write a dissertation. I think it is mandatory for all of us in universities and the institutes. Or you write a paper, it is going through the plagiarism check. There are professional, we all procure it. Now I think one nation, one subscription, you may get also plagiarism, anti-plagiarism checkers like Grammarly and Turnitin, and there are much more. AI, कुछ AI dot करके भी एक नया आया है, AI dot, okay, artificial intelligence का dot. So that also is there. So all of these, mostly corporates use that. So this plagiarism, when you check, if you have similarity which is 0 to 10%, that is okay. 0 to 10% similarity is acceptable. So even we accept up to 20% sometimes. That is also okay. But this plagiarism check is not done for introduction, literature review. It is mostly for the methodology and resultant discussion. That is where most of the plagiarism comes. The other places where in literature review I am supposed to be doing other papers review. So I have to write according to what they have written. So that is not included. And there is another called as self-plagiarism. You have written a paper, but you cannot, the same paper you cannot reproduce, by adding a few more lines in another journal. So that will come under 80 to 90% plagiarism, right? Because I have already written the paper, and that paper only I have added, I changed a little bit and added and tried to publish in another journal, which is also self-plagiarism. That means self-citation I have done, which is not accepted. So these similarity scores are done at your library level. You have to tell me the time, up to what time. So Turnitin and Grammarly, ये तो है आपका इधर. You go to library and your supervisor will always give the consent. I think they will have the keys, not students को तो देते नहीं शायद. So you every bit of writing, including your assignment, class assignments, make it a habit to go to the library and check how much similarity is coming. In this way, you will improve your own skill of writing. You will feel not very good when the similarity index is coming 50% even in your assignment, class assignment that way. So then you will develop your own writings and ideas. So do that, and that has improved many students. After I told that to some of our students there, it has improved in our institute. Okay. So there are this technology. So of late in 2020, good academic research practices. This is a book accepted by UGC has written, not written. Actually, they have taken a lot of sentences. In this book, what I found is good academic research practices in UGC. They have also, because they are doing research and they collated materials, so there are a lot of similarity I found in some other, when I was doing literature survey or going into this Google search, I found some other people in other universities have already written that. So plagiarism, sometimes it does happen, and sometimes it happens. Most of the times it happens because we have to produce this thick volumes of documents that we have to prepare. So we take it from here and there because we'll get so much idea to write, right? So what it says is the research misconduct, they categorize it as plagiarism, falsification. Plagiarism, you understand, taking others' data or paraphrasing but not giving proper acknowledgement to that. You can acknowledge right there in the brackets, you can give the reference, then you are safe, completely safe. Then falsification of data, which is very much coming up in a big way because of the stress that young students undergo. That is, they falsify the data, which should not be there, but it comes so well that they falsify so well that to falsify data also you need original idea. Nahi? Everybody cannot be cheating so well. So the one who cheats so well must be an intelligent fellow. So that intelligence must go to the right way, not in a wrong way, right? So falsification of data, then fabrication. Some of the time the instruments are not there, but the data has been there. So they have fabricated the data or information, and misrepresentation of the data. In a way, the data is not there, but usko idhar udhar leke they have represented the data in a wrongful interpretation. What is like what you call it as something differently. Humanities, the other language is used, which I am not using now. So we do misrepresent according to what I want to say. I reorient my research according to that. It is not correct, right? If I take a सर्वे का डाटा लेते हैं ना सोशियोलॉजी में, सपोज आई वांट टू नो what is happening really in the field, I of course get the data as it comes and I interpret. But sometimes my mind is fixed that I want to show this or that as low or high. So even though data is not showing that, I am misrepresenting that, right? So that comes, misrepresentation comes there. So every institute will have policies of its own, how to overcome plagiarism and unethical practice. And this practice is about having committees. Today if I am plagiarizing, not necessary that my institute fellows only can complain. Anybody can complain. From other fields of science or research also can complain. Or somebody who is against me, my enemy can also always looking at me, right? How to see that he is doing wrong, I have to prove it. So they are at an alert and you are also at an alert. And sometimes people come from other fields. If they give, suppose when I am writing an email telling this guy has fabricated data, it cannot be accepted because my signature is not there. So anything that is represented to the institute head, in your case the Vice Chancellor, if any letter that comes to the Vice Chancellor by signing, okay, not an email anonymous letter. If it is signed, then it has to go to the deans or directors, whomever he or she prefers, and there will be an inquiry committee. And the plagiarism or unethical practice that one has followed will be scrutinized, and there will be the quantum of punishment that will be done, will be decided depending on how much of unethical practice you have done. So the quantum of punishment depends on removing the student from the institute roles, or giving them 3 months out of hostel or from the department, or re-registering for PhD. So we don't want to also spoil the careers of students. It's always done in a way in our country, so that we don't want to damage somebody, right? And nobody wants to, so that those practices are done. But sometimes exemplary punishment is also done sometimes, so that others do not do it. Otherwise, if you are left with a very mild punishment, then you will take it. Some people will do it time and again. They will not take it as a learning mechanism. Okay, so there are copyright guidelines, patent rights, and conflict of interest and commitment. Conflict of interest is if I am sitting in a, if I am author of a paper and you are sending I am the editor of a journal, but you are sending the paper, being my student, putting my authorship also to the same journal, then it's a conflict of interest, right? It should not be sent there. But then you have every right to send it to the journal, right? Just because I am the editor, you are not prohibited from sending it to that. So what can be done here? If you are a judge, what will you do? Did you understand my question? There is a journal called X, in which I am the editor, and you are my student, the one with the red jacket, okay? And you send the paper with my name, your name, my name, to the same journal. Is it okay? Not okay, no? No. So first of all, I am the editor, no? So it's a conflict of interest over here. So the first thing is either I remove my name from there. I say that no. So you have a right to send anywhere you like. So in that case, my name should be not included in the authorship, right? Secondly, since you have a right to, send it to the same journal that I am editor of three or four journals का मैं editor हूँ. So you are still not debarred from sending it to any of those with my authorship as well, as long as I say that I have no conflict of interest in this, and sometimes what we do is we put a blind across that. The authorship names are cut, so that those who review, they do not come to know who has authored this. Put a blind. Huh? So most of the time that is also done. You do not come to know who are the authors. If you come to know that the author is your friend, you will always be mentally also you will be feeling like दोस्ती तो है उस दिन मेरे को चाय समोसा दिया था. So you will pass it. But sometimes what happens is it is made blind. Many a times it is made blind, so that there is a thorough review that is done. So you are not prohibited from sending anywhere. You are not. So conflict of interest is somebody who has to say that I have no personal conflict of interest in this. If I am working in a pharmaceutical company and the same company makes the drug, I have no conflict of interest in there because this is my company. We are doing research, right? But if it goes to another company who is also, the owner of another pharmaceutical, then it will be a conflict of interest because he will definitely say no. ये company जो किया वो तो बेकार करता है. Because there is a competition. So conflict of interest, there is a lot of there are a lot of rules regulations written in UGC guidelines. UGC has not given, but read it because this is 2020. उसके बाद तो कुछ है नहीं. So this is a complete document, but it doesn't say mostly about how you have to tackle. Mostly it says that the institute will have its own mechanism to tackle plagiarism. So what we do is we have anti-plagiarism softwares, and that's all we do. If there is similarity, we say make a little bit more. You write it and dissimilar कर दो. So students भी जाके paraphrasing और भी अच्छा से कर देते हैं, right? So you basically come down to this. So until and unless we write on our own, it will not be a solution. Okay. So I think I have nothing much to speak in this. We can, if you are interested, I can go back to my previous slide in the morning, or we can discuss. Please let us discuss a little bit. करोगे plagiarism? Will you do? Good boys and girls. Sports? Is there any sports with plagiarism? होता है? Is there any unethical practice in sports? Plagiarism is only one part of unethical practice. We have given 90% of our attention only to plagiarism, but that is only one part of it. There is unethical practice in many things, right? There are many things that are unethical. इस sports में कुछ है unethical. They take performance enhanced drugs and fixing, selection of team, right? Selection of team also there is a big hue and cry and who will be there. So all of this is a big responsibility for the university leaders to see to it that it is just and ethics and doing the right kind of job. I end it here. Thank you. You want this? Why don't you come here?
So there are a couple of questions जो थोड़े arise हुए इस बीच. Firstly, sir, are there like a specific rules या फिर guidelines जिसके तहत हम एक piece of information को या फिर एक manuscript को या data को plagiarized बोलते हैं? Like, is there a set rules? Is there a set of rules जिसके basis? Because it's a probability, hopefully, that somebody can have common ideas. Like, there can be common ideas.
Yeah, that's a very good question. But common ideas, although it can be a coincidence, but we take it as borrowed or inspired.
Saying inspired is properly.
Yeah, so Helen Keller. That's why I gave the example.
Yeah,
Helen Keller, nobody will doubt. And she wrote a book, beautiful book, and she heard it from her grandfather. She wrote, but then she was under plagiarism. So there is no common source. Yeah. There is nothing documented. Actually, every institute should have its own documentation. When I said similarity index should be 0 to 10 or 10 to 20% or 30 to 40%, this is what UGC says, but some is, for example, if my student is there, I don't accept it even if it is 10%. I just don't accept it. Right? So it depends on individuals and also institute rules.
Like before blaming somebody for plagiarized content or for
Okay, you are telling when somebody is caught under plagiarism, okay, that is a, there will be a committee of people, professors, and they will sit down and discuss about it, and they will, because the university has already a set guidelines formulated, what is the quantum of punishment, but it is mostly towards pro student. Most of the universities work towards pro. So it depends on how they take it. There is no guideline, but in your website it is there. Is it there? Well, I was chairman of ethics committee in IIT Roorkee. I made it, and it is in our
pattern.
It is there, so that has to be followed. Mostly universities follow UGC guideline, but in addition to UGC, they can go more into their own also. And many of these, you and me are discussing it, but in medical science, it is more. Yeah, because the way MBBS, very long course, and then followed by JR, SR, MD, all this. So they get really tired of it. And plagiarism comes naturally into play because they are also doing OPD work and also they have to produce a thesis. So it started from there.
And my second question was that earlier mentioned that since Helen Keller was also said that she did plagiarism, etc. So it means plagiarism is she accepted and it means plagiarism is a practice that has been carried out since quite a time.
Only the word was not there,
yes,
but it was there since the beginning of civilization. All of us have, there is no point in reinventing the wheel. Right? If you are a science student, if you are doing physics, then you don't say every time you write the law of gravity, you don't write Newton 1657 or something. Because it is already accepted. If the sun rises in his Galileo बोले होंगे, उससे पहले भी मालूम था. But whoever has documented it in writing will be only accepted. You cannot say mythology सब में था हमारा चल रहा है ये नहीं होगा. Unless until it is documented in a paper, right? Accepted.
Like in current times, since we have seen that the technology is evolving like a very good way. So according to you, does AI and plagiarism go hand in hand, or they are like against each other?
Yeah, AI will help in plagiarism text better.
Catching plagiarism.
Yeah,
or helping.
but AI will help actually. Like ChatGPT also I said in the morning, it's also AI only. Right? ChatGPT helps us to reframe sentences. But then it will not, when you go for AI.bot, I think something like that, this corporate world uses plagiarism in this. Corporate world में sue कर देते, right? Millions of dollars of suing. So they are more worried and say they will use AI.bot or something which is very expensive to buy also. So it catches even the minor test of it.
Because currently if we search something from the ChatGPT, it's like maximum chances are there that it cites the wrong source. Like it doesn't tell us the right source of the information where it's taken in.
No, if you ask ChatGPT to write you a leave letter, it will write beautifully, it doesn't need to quote. But if you have written an abstract and asked ChatGPT, so because in brackets there are already references, it will not change them. It will keep that.
So in case of AI is technically not helping in catching plagiarism, it is actually...
Yeah, it is helping us in writing skills and also improving, yes. Anti-plagiarism. It will sometimes underline भी करता है. When you use AI in your emails also, you can download that and put. It underlines your spelling mistakes. नहीं? कहाँ comma देना है वो भी it finds out. So it is helping us. पूछो यार.
इसके बारे में बताने वाले थे ना.
No. If you have already given a reference, then you are free of plagiarism. Yeah, उसके बाद last sentence के बाद इसका दे देते हैं. I know students do that because every sentence you cannot give a reference. So last को एक दे दिया, they feel safe, but वो चल नहीं जाता है in the system. Yeah, you can cheat. Voice. Yeah, it is okay. If it is not an exam, जैसा objective questions नहीं है तो it is okay. नहीं एग्जाम रिलेटेड ABCD दिया है, 4 आंसर चैट जीपीटी दे दिया, चारों को 4 करेक्ट है, then you will have problem. नहीं आपका रिसर्च में अगर if you have given
मैंने कुछ पूछा तो वो 4 ऑप्शन मुझे वो दे रहा है, पैराग्राफ दे रहा है, उस पैराग्राफ को मैं मेंशन कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ
तो वो प्लेजरिज्म में
नहीं, नो प्लेजरिज्म में नहीं आएगा, because you started giving it itself. You are taking ChatGPT is only an assistance. It is assisting you. आपका जैसा secretary है वैसे है. It is only helping you in drafting or writing.
वो चैट जीपीटी जो है वो चैट से ही मुझे निकाल के दे रहा है.
No, it is not only taking from net. I mean, it is doing a lot of research behind the scene. It is reading from many papers and it is, extracting. So it is doing it in such a powerful way. You cannot do it because you can also read many books and write it, but it will take a lot of time for you. So it is doing. So it is not reproducing, and secondly, it is not writing anything on its own. DeepSeek मेरे को मालूम नहीं, एक्चुअली चाइनीज
तरह से वो
होगा. नहीं, मैं DeepSeek तो यूज नहीं किया, बट ये ChatGPT तो बढ़िया है.
एबल प्राइस के बारे में पूछो, कुछ बोलने वाले थे है ना, बोलने तो बाद में बोलेंगे कुछ एबल प्राइस के बारे में बोलो. निकाल दिया पूछो.
फॉर्मूलाज वगैरह ये सब चीज़ें इंक्लूड होती हैं. That portion might be more susceptible for.
I think I said literature review and introduction, methodology you see me here. So result and discussion is more, where we take others' work. That's the core of the thesis, and there we bring in a lot of authors, what they have said and quote it as ours, and we try to prove that you may first time here what we going to. So that is taken more, but the others also you cannot have word by word. उसके लिए you don't have to. People don't see 5 or 10%. They can. It is acceptable up to 20%.
So like the formulas and other things, it might be same.
There are some set formulas are
We
same.
have to cite. If it is a derived formula, we have to cite.
Yeah. But वो पहले ही लिखते हैं ना, मैथ्स में पहले ही लिखते हैं ना, according to so and so. We write the equations like that. उसका numbering भी करते हैं. So that's not an issue. But if you start writing after every equation author का, it becomes tedious. It is like a football match जो होता है ना, और रेफरी ज़्यादा विसिल बजाते हैं तो मजा नहीं आता, right? कुछ पेनल्टी होते रहता है, फिर भी मतलब some they should let the play go on.
क्या हो?
Every time you whistle, then the play is not continuous. So it is like that.